The first call came at 8:17 a.m. on Thursday morning, 48 hours before I was supposed to walk down the aisle. I was at my final dress fitting when my phone buzzed, the florist. "Ms. Reeves, I'm so sorry to call with this, but your final payment bounced. The bank says there are insufficient funds in the account." I nearly dropped my phone. "That's impossible. There's $40,000 in that account. The bank shows a balance of $12.37. My seamstress stopped pinning my hem as she watched the color drain from my face. Within minutes, my phone exploded with calls: the caterer, the venue, the photographer, the band. Every single vendor reporting the same thing. Payments bounced, checks returned, insufficient funds. I excused myself from the fitting, still in my wedding dress, and called the bank from my car. My hands shook as I navigated their phone tree, white silk pooling around me in the driver's seat. "Ms. Reeves, I show a withdrawal of $39,987.63 made in person on Tuesday at our downtown branch," the customer service representative explained. "I didn't make any withdrawal. I haven't been to that branch in months. The withdrawal was authorized by Eleanor Reeves. According to our records, she's a joint account holder." My mother. My stomach turned to lead. I'd added her to the account 6 months ago when she'd offered to help with wedding planning. "It'll be easier," she'd said. "I can pay vendors directly while you're busy with work." I'd been grateful for the help, touched by her involvement after years of her favoring my brother. "Can you tell me who processed this transaction?" "Let me see." It was handled by our branch manager, Mr. Robert Chin. Robert Chin. The name hit me like a slap. Robert had been my client 2 years ago in a nasty divorce case. I'd helped him protect his assets from his gambling-addicted ex-wife, saved him from financial ruin. He owed his current stability to my legal expertise. And he'd just helped my mother clean out my wedding account. I sat in that parking lot, in my wedding dress, as the reality crashed over me. 2 days before my wedding, my mother had stolen everything. The woman who'd given birth to me, who'd promised to help make my day special, had emptied my account and left me with nothing. But why? And more importantly, where had the money gone? I called Robert Chin directly. He answered on the second ring. "Natalie, how are the wedding preparations?" "Cut the crap, Robert. You processed a $40,000 withdrawal from my account on Tuesday. My mother isn't authorized to take that money. You knew that account was for my wedding." Silence. Then, "Natalie, She said you knew. She said it was a family emergency." "What emergency?" "Your brother. She said he was in serious trouble, owed money to dangerous people. She was crying, said they were threatening to hurt him if she didn't pay immediately." "My brother Kevin." "Of course. The golden child who could do no wrong, whose gambling addiction my mother had enabled for years. While I'd worked 2 jobs through law school, she'd been bailing him out. While I'd built my career, she'd been funding his failures. And you didn't think to call me? To verify? After everything I did for you. She's your mother. She's on the account." I thought, "I'm sorry, Natalie. I should have called." I hung up without another word. My next call was to my mother. She answered cheerfully, as if she hadn't just destroyed my wedding. "Hi, honey. How is the dress fitting?" 2 more days. "I can't believe my baby's getting married." "Where's my money, Mom?" Silence. "The $40,000 you stole from my wedding account. Where is it?" "Natalie, sweetheart, you don't understand." "Then explain it. Explain why you emptied my account 2 days before my wedding." I heard her take a shaky breath. Kevin was in trouble. Real trouble this time. He owed some very bad people $50,000. They were going to hurt him, maybe kill him. I'm his mother. I couldn't let that happen. "So you stole from me?" "From my wedding." "I didn't steal. I borrowed. Kevin promised he'll pay it back. He's got a new job. He's turning his life around. He's been turning his life around for 15 years, Mom. And you've been enabling him every step of the way. But this is beyond anything you've done before. You have a good job," she said, her tone shifting to defensive. "You can afford another $40,000. Kevin can't afford to lose his life." "I can afford it? I saved for 3 years for this wedding. And maybe that's the problem," she snapped. "You're too successful anyway. Everything comes so easy to you. Perfect grades, perfect job, perfect fiancé. A smaller wedding will humble you, remind you what really matters, family." There it was. The truth she'd been hiding behind maternal concern. It wasn't about saving Kevin. It was about punishing me for succeeding where he'd failed. "Is that what you told Aunt Linda?" I asked coldly. "That I needed to be humbled?" Another silence. Then, how did you? She called me Mom. Concerned about what you'd said. She's too successful anyway. A smaller wedding will humble her. Your exact words. I could hear her scrambling. I didn't mean it like that. Yes, you did. You've resented my success since the day I got into law school. Every achievement, every promotion, every milestone. You found a way to make it about Kevin's failures. And now you've found the ultimate way to put me in my place. That money saved your brother's life. No, it enabled his addiction. Again. And you committed fraud to do it. Fraud? I'm on the account. As a convenience addition, not a co-owner. The account documentation clearly states it's my sole property. You had no legal right to that money. You and Robert both knew that. You wouldn't. Natalie, I'm your mother. And I'm the bride whose wedding you just sabotaged. I have to go. I have vendors to call, a wedding to cancel, and a police report to file. Police? You can't be serious. I hung up. The next 2 hours were the hardest of my life. Call after call to vendors, explaining that I couldn't pay them, that my wedding might not happen. Some were understanding. Others threatened to sue. The venue refused to refund any deposits and wouldn't honor the reservation without full payment. My fiancé, Daniel, found me in my home office, surrounded by contracts and still wearing my wedding dress, mascara streaking down my face. Nat, what's going on? The caterer called me saying there's a problem with payment. I told him everything. Watched his face cycle through shock, rage, and finally, a cold determination that reminded me why I was marrying this man. How much do we need? He asked simply. $38,000 to honor all contracts. Plus deposits we'll lose if we cancel. I have 20 in savings. We can get a loan for the rest. No. I wiped my eyes, steel entering my spine. We're not going into debt because my mother chose my brother over me. Again. Then what do we do? I looked at my wedding dress, the contracts spread across my desk, the photo of my supposedly happy family on the bookshelf. We get creative. And we get justice. The next 36 hours were a whirlwind of controlled chaos. First, I called every vendor personally, not as a desperate bride, but as the lawyer I was. I negotiated payment plans, offered legal services in trade, and leveraged every connection I had. The photographer agreed to a reduced rate in exchange for handling his upcoming divorce. The florist, a small business owner, accepted a partial payment and future referrals. But the real breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Robert Chin called back, guilt-ridden and panicked about potential legal consequences. Natalie, I know I screwed up. What can I do to fix this? You can start by telling me exactly what my mother said when she came in. Every detail. His story was revealing. My mother had brought Kevin with her. He'd been beaten up, clearly in bad shape. She'd claimed I'd authorized the withdrawal, but was too busy with wedding planning to come myself. She'd known exactly which forms to fill out, had answers for every security question. She'd planned this, I realized. This wasn't a desperate impulse. She prepared. There's more, Robert said quietly. She mentioned she'd done this before. Said you'd understand because you'd helped with Kevin's debts in the past. Except I hadn't. Not once. Which meant she'd been stealing from me before, just in smaller amounts I hadn't noticed. Robert, I need you to pull my account history. Every transaction my mother made. And I need it documented officially. Of course. Natalie, I'm so sorry. If there's anything else. Actually, there is. You're going to personally loan me $20,000. Interest-free. Consider it avoiding a lawsuit and criminal charges for processing a fraudulent withdrawal. He agreed immediately. Between that, Daniel's savings, and the vendor negotiations, we had enough to save the wedding. But I wasn't done. I hired a forensic accountant, a friend from law school who owed me a favor. What she found was staggering. Over the past 6 months, my mother had made dozens of small withdrawals, always just under the amount that would trigger an alert. Total stolen, $67,000. She'd been planning this long before the wedding account. She'd been systematically robbing me while smiling to my face and pretending to help plan my special day. The morning of my wedding dawned bright and clear. I stood in my bridal suite, surrounded by my real family. The friends who'd rallied around me, the colleagues who'd offered support, the man who'd stood by me through the chaos. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. I'm in the parking lot. Please let me in. I'm still your mother. I showed it to my maid of honor, Aisha. What do you want to do? Let her in, I decided. She should see this. Security escorted my mother to a small room off the main venue. She'd dressed for a wedding, clearly expecting to play the role of mother of the bride despite everything. Kevin wasn't with her, probably too ashamed or too beaten up to show his face. "Natalie, sweetheart, you look beautiful." "Stop." I held up a hand. "I didn't let you in for reconciliation. I let you in to tell you what's happening next." I handed her a folder. Forensic accounting report. $67,000 stolen over 6 months. Bank records. Fraudulent withdrawal documentation. And a criminal complaint I'll be filing Monday morning. Her face went white. "You can't." "I can and I will. But I'm willing to make a deal. Sign this." I placed another document in front of her. A legally binding agreement admitting to the theft, agreeing to repayment terms, and most importantly, relinquishing any claim to my life going forward. No contact. No relationship. No pretending to be my mother. "This is cruel," she whispered. "No, cruel is stealing your daughter's wedding fund to enable your son's addiction. Cruel is saying I need to be humbled because I worked for my success. Cruel is choosing him over me every single time and expecting me to smile and take it. I love both my children, but you only protect one. And it was never me." I straightened my dress. "Sign it, or I file charges Monday. Your choice." She signed with shaking hands. As she pushed the paper back to me, she looked up with tears in her eyes. "I hope you never have to choose between your children. I hope I never teach one child that their siblings' failures matter more than their success. Now leave. You're trespassing at a private event." She left, escorted by security, and I returned to my bridal suite. Aisha helped me touch up my makeup while my other bridesmaids formed a protective circle around me. "You okay?" Daniel asked when he saw me at the altar. "Perfect," I said and meant it. The wedding was beautiful. Different than originally planned, scaled back in some ways, enhanced in others by the vendors who'd rallied to support us. The speech Daniel gave about partnership through adversity wasn't in the original plan, but left no dry eye in the house. The only family from my side was my Aunt Linda, who'd warned me about my mother's comments. She stood where my parents should have been, proud and supportive. The rest of my side was filled with chosen family, friends who'd become siblings, mentors who'd become parents, colleagues who'd become my true support system. My mother kept her word and stayed away. But Kevin didn't. He showed up during the reception, drunk and belligerent, demanding to talk to me. Security intercepted him before he could cause a scene. "Let him approach," I told them. "But stay close." He stumbled over, his face still showing bruises from his creditors. "You're really going to press charges against Mom? For helping me?" "No, Kevin. For stealing from me. Just like you've been doing your entire life, just using her as the middleman. I'll pay you back." "No, you won't. You'll promise to, just like you have 100 times before. Then you'll gamble it away and come back for more. But this time is different. This time there are consequences. She could go to jail. She should have thought of that before committing fraud." He lunged at me then, but security was ready. As they dragged him away, he screamed about family loyalty, about forgiveness, about how I was a cold-hearted bitch who valued money over blood. The reception continued without missing a beat. My guests, my real family, closed ranks and celebrated even harder. The band played, the food was exceptional, and the joy was genuine. Later that night, as Daniel and I slow danced to our song, he whispered, "Any regrets?" I thought about it. My mother had stolen from me, betrayed me, tried to humble me. My brother continued to be the black hole he'd always been. I'd had to fight for my own wedding, scramble for funds, and file charges against my own parent. "No," I said finally. "They showed me who they really are. And I showed myself who I am. Someone who doesn't accept being a victim, who protects what's hers, and who knows that real family isn't about blood." The legal aftermath was swift. Faced with overwhelming evidence, my mother pled guilty to fraud and received probation with restitution requirements. She paid back $500 a month, court-ordered, not voluntary. Kevin spiraled further, last I heard, still gambling, still blaming everyone else for his problems. I built my own family. Daniel and I had 2 daughters, raised with the values my mother never taught. That success should be celebrated, not punished. That helping family doesn't mean enabling destruction. That love isn't measured by what you'll tolerate, but by what you'll protect. Sometimes I think about that morning in my wedding dress, crying in a parking lot, betrayed by the woman who gave birth to me. It should have broken me. Instead, it forged me into someone stronger. Someone who knows that when people show you who they are, you believe them. My mother stole $40,000 2 days before my wedding. In return, I gained something priceless. The knowledge that I didn't need her approval, her presence, or her toxic version of love. The wedding she tried to destroy became the foundation of a life built on chosen family, earned success, and the kind of love that builds up instead of tears down. She was right about one thing. The experience did humble me. It humbled me enough to realize I'd been accepting crumbs of affection from people who resented my success. It humbled me enough to stop seeking approval from those who wanted me to fail. It humbled me enough to build boundaries so strong that no one could ever steal from me again. Not my money, not my joy, not my future. The bank account was empty, but my life became full. And that's a trade I'd make again in a heartbeat. Thanks for watching. See you again in the next video. Stay stunned.